Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dave.
And together we are the IB English Guys.
We're IB examiners, IB teachers, teaching partners, and together we wanted to make some videos that have good manageable skills for our students and for students all over to help them with their IB English coursework and get them ready for specifically the individual oral in this case.
Yeah, the individual oral can be a really tough assessment, particularly when students are talking about passages and extracts in great detail. Giles, what are we up to today?
Today we want to talk about zooming in. And what I mean by that is we want to zoom in on our passage. How do we choose our extract? How do we talk about our extract to be able to show a connection to that global issue?
That sounds interesting, a little bit difficult. I'm not entirely clear. Would you be willing to do one for us today?
I'm going to go for it.
And which novel or which extract are you going to go for?
I'm going to choose an extract from The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. I think this is a novel that is widely taught in the IB. It's one that I really love. It connects to a lot of global issues, specifically war and the war experience.
All right, why do you say we listen to you take a crack at it, and then we can talk about your process and hear what you were thinking as you did this very interesting yet somewhat difficult task.
Sounds good. You guys enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side. The extract that I've chosen today is from the story On the Rainy River from The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. In this entire story, we see the narrator's internal conflict as he's deciding whether to betray his conscience and enter the Vietnam War and follow what he knows, or go to Canada and follow what he knows is right. And this again connects to my global issue about how sometimes embarrassment and shame causes individuals to cross those moral boundaries and make unethical decisions. In line number 1, Tim O'Brien writes, "This is a story I've never told before." He uses the narrative first-person point of view as the narrator is telling the reader that he's never told this story before. This again has a very intimate tone, and it has this intimate connection with the reader because he's revealing a secret that he hasn't told before. This again connects to my global issue of admitting something shameful that he's done. Again, he says in line 7, he's going to relieve some pressure on his dreams. So we know that this shameful act is affecting him because he's done something wrong. The next point I want to make connects to my global issue is he makes an allusion to the Lone Ranger in line number 11. He believes that somehow in an immoral emergency, he's going to act like the secret heroes of his youth, like the Lone Ranger. This allusion to the Lone Ranger is a character from a famous television show and a comic book. And the Lone Ranger is someone who acted without the approval of others and did things morally and ethically for himself. This again is unlike the narrator who is making this unethical decision because of shame, which again is my global issue. My third point I'd like to make is an extended metaphor where he compares courage to an inheritance in line number 14. He thinks that somehow he's going to be able to tap into this inheritance and courage like a bank account, and that his moral capital will somehow increase as he keeps making these deposits and later on withdraw them. But in reality, he's unable to do that. And again, this relates to this idea that courage is not something that you can just rely on, just like it's some bank account that's been accruing interest. And again, because of shame and because of embarrassment, he doesn't have the courage to follow his ethics and decide to go to Canada. Instead, he enters the Vietnam War, ironically, and this for him is an unethical, immoral decision based on shame and embarrassment.
Wow, Mr. Giles. That was a lot. There was a lot going on there. How do you feel about that?
I was nervous, more nervous than making these videos. It was definitely a feeling of, okay, I've got all these ideas, but I want to make sure I do a lot of the things I needed to do and give a good example. So I tried my best.
I'd like to talk a little bit about your process, if you don't mind. I'd just like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
You good with that?
Yeah, go for it.
So, The Things They Carried is a long novel, a couple hundred pages. How did you choose your extract?
Well, I was thinking about this idea of shame and embarrassment and morality, and it reminded me of that particular story where that character was deciding to go to war or not, and that moral decision that he ends up going to war and feeling like it was unethical. It really spoke to me.
And that's actually a really significant moment of the text. So I think when you choose your extract, a key takeaway is choose critical moments of the text to discuss. Don't choose some peripheral incident that's happened that's not connected to the main themes, right?
That's right.
Fantastic. Now, Your passage itself was probably about 30 lines. I was looking on my computer as well. How did you decide? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. How did you decide what to talk about?
Yeah, you can't do it all. I think that's one real big lesson of this assessment. You really have to just select what I call hotspots. I picked 3 hotspots, 3 areas of the text. You can see I've highlighted those in a color. Now, and I've identified those are the key sort of parts of the text that I will be discussing in my individual oral. And so I highlighted those. I put those into a graphic organizer. I also sort of started to think about what are the literary elements that I see in these lines that I can then talk about. So you can see in my graphic organizer below that I've done some thinking about that, so that I can then talk about those references.
Okay, I think
that helped me.
Yeah, I think I see what you've done here. A tough thing for examiners is sometimes they're not really familiar with the text that the student has chosen. So I noticed before you went into the passage, you gave some context. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of providing context for your extract?
Yeah, you got to remember that you've ripped that extract out of the text metaphorically, and so you need to explain where that extract fits into the text and give some context of the time and place and what's happening. Now, examiners, they're not geniuses, and they haven't read, your novel recently, so you have to really keep that in mind and give that context. However, it has to be brief. So if you listen to my context, it's a few sentences, but I'm anchoring it in the story. I'm explaining the sort of really quickly a summary of what the story is about, and then I'm trying to zero in on my global issue and my extract.
Fantastic. I'm going to close my eyes and think back to what I heard. I heard a mix of things in your discussion. I heard you talking about literary features. I heard you talking about readers. And I heard the words global issue. What were you trying to do in that section?
Well, it goes back to my hotspots. I'm trying to make sure that I'm quoting the text. I'm making references to the text. So I'm anchoring that in a line number, and I'm referring to a little short snippet of text that I want to talk about. And then I'm attaching that to a literary element that I've noticed there. And I'm thinking about that literary element, the effect on the reader. But then the extension is I'm also trying to connect that to my global issue. So I'm keeping my global issue of shame and embarrassment and connecting that. So it's quite a few things, but I need to do those things well to make sure that I'm quoting the text, talking about author's choices, labeling those choices, but also connecting it to the global issue.
Well, let me just make sure I have this right. So I'm taking a textual reference, and I am then pinning that to a literary feature. I'm then talking about the effect on the reader or audience, and then lastly, I'm linking to the global issue. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. And I'm again, also throughout, I'm keeping an eye on my time because I want to spend about 2 minutes and 30 seconds on this entire delivery, keeping in mind that my question and answer might give me an opportunity to go back to that extract. So I'm doing the best I can. And I'm always keeping my global issue in mind and making sure that I'm discussing author choices and staying calm and balanced and not going too fast.
Yeah, that's great. And something I notice with my students, Mr. Giles, and I'm wondering if you had the problem, is that sometimes students have a lot of knowledge and a lot of analysis they want to share, but they don't really have anything to hang their thinking on. I thought I heard some sentence frames or sentence stems in your analysis. Can you talk a little bit about what a sentence stem is and maybe give us some examples?
Yeah, a sentence stem I think is really helpful because it's essentially just a sentence starter. And so you want to use these sentence stems to help you just get yourself into the text. So if I say in line number 3, we see, I'm used to saying that sentence stem, and then I can go, we see Tim O'Brien write, and then I'll give my quote. So it's an easy way to sort of segue into talking about something. Or I might say, the effect on the reader is, or this affects the reader in that. So I have a variety of sort of sentence beginnings that I can use to get myself to discuss the text.
What do you say we give our students and our viewers out there a nice list of sentence stems that they can use in their individual oral? Guys, if you just look down at the bottom of the video, you'll see a hyperlink. Open it. Sentence stems, our gift to you.
Sounds like he's got some typing to do. Okay, guys, that's about it for today. I'm going to zoom in. Hope you got something out of that. It was a bit of a meatier video, but this is, again, what we want to do. We want to break down some skills, give you some examples, and also just, try it ourselves. It's not perfect, but again, just gives you another example to look at and think about ways that you can do this same thing. I'm going to make him do it next time.
I'm happy to do it. Friends, just remember when you're practicing and trying this on your own, keep it to 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 30 seconds tops, because you really don't have much more time than that. But we'll talk about organization and structure of the I/O on subsequent videos.
That's right.
Thanks for watching, folks. If you have any ideas or things to add, put them in the comments. Again, we are here for you. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.